She was the invisible force keeping a charity alive until the day they pushed her out. For 3 years, Maya did the real work at Hope Kitchen, while the board gave credit to everyone else. When she applied to lead the organization she'd built, they told her she wasn't the right fit and hired a privileged business graduate instead. But when their golden boy nearly bankrupted the charity in just 6 months, they had to make the most humiliating phone call of their lives. This is the story of what happens when prejudice meets reality and the woman they underestimated becomes their only hope for survival. Maya wasn't just another volunteer. She was Hope Kitchen's secret weapon. Growing up 3 blocks from the soup kitchen, she knew what hunger looked like. While her college classmates chased 6-figure salaries, she showed up at Hope Kitchen every morning at 6 a.m. She didn't just serve meals, she remembered that Mr. Jenkins needed diabetic-friendly options and that the Martinez family preferred their groceries bagged a certain way. She turned a struggling charity into a community institution. For 3 years, she was the first to arrive and last to leave. She knew which farmers' markets had leftover produce on Saturdays, which bakeries donated day-old bread on Tuesdays, and how to stretch $100 into $500 worth of food. But the wealthy board members saw her as the help, reliable, hard-working, but never leadership material. They praised her dedication while secretly believing she lacked the polish needed to represent their organization. When the director position opened, Maya knew this was her moment. She spent nights creating a 50-page transformation plan, complete with budget projections, partnership strategies, and a vision to make Hope Kitchen self-sustaining within 2 years. The board's response was a masterclass in condescension. "This is very thorough, Maya," the chairwoman, Eleanor, said, not even looking at the document. "But we need someone who can sit at the table with our 7-figure donors. We're looking for a more corporate image." That corporate image turned out to be Brendan, a 26-year-old with a trust fund and an MBA, whose only experience with poverty came from case studies. The board fell in love with his PowerPoint presentations and expensive suits. What happened next was a slow-motion disaster. Maya was forced to train her own replacement while watching him destroy everything she'd built. He replaced her proven food distribution system with a streamlined app that left volunteers confused and clients hungry. He canceled partnerships with local suppliers, calling them too grassroots, in favor of expensive corporate vendors that blew their budget. The ultimate betrayal came when Maya discovered she'd been deliberately excluded from a meeting with their biggest potential donor, a foundation she'd been cultivating for 2 years. Listening from the hallway, she heard Brendan take credit for her programs, stumble over basic facts, and dismiss her urban garden initiative as a pet project. That night, she packed her office photos, ready to abandon the place she loved. The implosion was spectacular. Their anchor donor, responsible for 40% of their funding, publicly announced they were pulling their $300,000 annual grant, citing gross mismanagement and lack of transparency. 2 other major funders followed within 48 hours. Hope Kitchen was literally days from closing its doors forever. The emergency board meeting was pure chaos. Brendan offered meaningless buzzwords about disrupting the nonprofit space, while the organization collapsed around him. Board members shouted, blamed each other, and finally fell into defeated silence. It was Eleanor who finally voiced their collective shame. "We need to call Maya." The words hung in the air, an admission that their prejudice had cost them everything. When Maya walked into the boardroom, she found broken people. These powerful executives and socialites were now trembling, their perfect world shattered. They begged for her help, their voices shaking. "Maya," Eleanor pleaded, "do you have any ideas to save us?" Maya looked at the people who had treated her as invisible for years. She thought about the hundreds of families who would go hungry if Hope Kitchen closed. She took a deep breath, her voice steady and clear. "Ideas?" she said. "I have the entire solution right here." She placed her original 50-page plan on the table. "But if you want me to clean up this mess, there's one condition." The room fell so silent you could hear the clock ticking. Every eye was fixed on her, their futures depending on her next words. "I become executive director," she stated. "Full control, no board interference. And Brendan is gone today." The board voted yes in under 60 seconds. What happened next shocked everyone. Maya didn't fire staff or seek revenge. She went to work. Her first call wasn't to a donor, but to the urban gardeners Brendan had fired. Her second call was to the angry anchor donor. She didn't make excuses. She said 3 powerful words: "I'm in charge." Then she walked them through her original plan. The donor not only restored funding, but wrote an additional $50,000 check on the spot. Within 3 months, Hope Kitchen was serving 30% more meals. Within 6 months, they'd expanded to weekend operations. But the real victory wasn't in the numbers. It was in the restored dignity of a community that finally saw one of their own in charge. This story reveals the dirty secret of modern discrimination. It's not about hatred, but about patterns. The board chose Brendan because he looked like what they thought leadership should look like. They dismissed Maya because her excellence didn't match their template. They nearly destroyed an entire charity because they couldn't imagine a black woman from the neighborhood being the most qualified person in the room. So we have to ask ourselves, how many organizations are dying because they're promoting the wrong people? How many Brendans are failing upward while Mayas are being held back? True diversity isn't about representation. It's about recognizing that the most competent person often does not look, sound, or dress the way we expect leaders to look. The next time you're making a hiring decision or evaluating someone's potential, ask yourself this crucial question: am I choosing someone because they're actually competent, or because they make me comfortable? Because as Hope Kitchen discovered the hard way, survival doesn't care about your comfort zone. It demands the most capable person, even when that person surprises you.